I wanted to just take a little time while you guys get your picture taken, just to reflect on the first day of our two-day event. We started after a conversation that kind of set the stage. I think the NAC panel came up and focused, I would say, mostly on metrics. How do we measure what we're doing? What are those metrics? How do we come to some common understanding of those metrics? And how important the collaboration is among all of us. The DAC panel, I like to try to come up with sort of a quote of the day at these events. And for me, I think there are a couple that maybe rise to the occasion of the quote of the day that both came from the DAC panel. The first was from Tim Knoll, who basically, when asked about whether he was afraid, I think Bernold asked the question about fear of drones. He said he was concerned but not afraid. So I think that's going to be one of our new things we'll talk about on the DAC. The other one I thought that was kind of fun on the DAC was Brendan basically, I think, asking for more meetings. I'm pretty sure that's what I heard. So I think we can accommodate that if Brendan's in the room. But in general, I think you saw for the first time really at RTCA a whole new world of the drone industry and the manned industry coming together, working together on solving problems. Just the order of the speakers up here, where you had someone working on counter drones sitting next to the #1 manufacturer of drones, gives you a little picture of what we're dealing with on the DAC, and I think they did a great job. We talked about equipping for the future, talked about how we get from here to trajectory-based operations, and the need for standards. And I think Christian made the point that as we work together on so many of our standards to make them both Europe and US together, we come out with the joint standards, we have a much stronger chance of having those adopted at ICAO and having all the work that you do be leveraged even further around the globe. On the next-gen priorities, we really talked about setting those priorities, and that we're at a place now that's different from where we were in Task Force 5, where aircraft are better equipped, ready to take advantage of new capabilities. Again, metrics, critical to the work that this group is doing, but I think you also saw on display a pretty unprecedented amount of collaboration and close work between industry and FAA to implement these recommendations. Over lunch, a strong message from our administrator that we feel very proud of in talking about RTCA and all of us as partners with the FAA. I think we've come a long way under his leadership to get to that point of collaboration. Finally, our time, speed, and spacing here really talking about how we move to this new world of time-based traffic and the culture change that has to happen there, both for controllers and pilots, and how we get from, I think what that group has done a really remarkable job of, is getting from really defining some near-term, more ground-based capabilities, and ultimately getting to the cockpit base. And I think you heard a little bit of the tension there that played out in that group all through their work on how we make that transition, and I think even the question of if we make that transition, and I think you heard both of those. So I think in general, a really exciting day that really highlights the breadth of work that's going on at RTCA and among all of you and the work that you bring to the table. We're so thrilled to be able to showcase that once a year here. I think people have thought for many years about RTCA as a very technical organization, really starting out as the Radio Technical Commission for Aeronautics. We spent a lot of time today talking about culture, talking about procedures, talking about policies, in addition to the technology. So I think that we've really have come a long way. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about the environment. We're going to talk about FAA reform, which has come up a number of times today. We're going to have a panel from the UAS XCOM, so we'll hear from some people from other agencies in the government, and finish up with cybersecurity and commercial space. So I want to be able to thank our gold sponsors once again, NATCA and Delta Airlines, for helping us make all this possible. And I want to remind you all that we have a fun event. I think Andy started with looking at a new thing for RTCA to stand for. I think you talked about the rooftop. So I don't want you to miss this reception. It has, especially for people who are from out of town, you're going to see a terrific, almost 360 view of the city. But it's not hot, it's inside. There'll be some good food and drink. And it's up on the rooftop. I think it's the Chesapeake View room. You go up there on the elevator, you can see the view there. So I'm sort of thinking at this point, leave the room thinking that RTCA might be something more like rooftop collaboration with alcohol. So enjoy yourselves, and we'll see you up there. Thank you.